It is so good to see each of you. I want to give a shout out to Tyler Olson. Tyler is in charge of growing our think tank. To give you an idea, last July was the first time we ever did a summer think tank. With deep self-belief in myself, I didn't think anybody would show up in July. And we had over 800 people last year. We're going to attract close to 1,400 to 1,500 people today, and that's in 1 year. And Tyler, you're doing a fantastic job. Just want you to know that. I also want to give a shout out to Creative Edge, who does all of our production. We were laughing today when I walked in. It took 4 or 5 people to mic me up, and they were undressing me. And Tony says, you know, I was joking with my staff that we know how you walk better than you know how you walk. So, Tony, I just want to say thank you to Quinn, your team, all of you. Sean, you guys do fantastic work. And part of leadership, you all, is giving flowers out to people in real time. Do we all appreciate sincere, genuine praise? Every one of us. That's leadership. And I just want to say thank you to the great job that you're doing. I also want to introduce to you one of our many partners who has joined us today. I'd like to introduce you to the COO of a company called Washworld. We have a deep partnership with them. They design, create, build and install automated car washes all over the country. Zach, come up for a couple of minutes and share with us the experience that you're having with InitiativeOne and what has been the biggest change so far for you guys. Welcome, Jack Zinson.
Our team has never done something like this. So we have done a lot of mentoring and a lot of coaching in our company in a very natural, informal way. And we've been around now for 27 years, and our team has done a very good job of coaching the upcoming leaders. That being said, we haven't had a scalable system to really intentionally grow our leaders. And our leaders, our aspiring leaders, and we're not just talking about, as they talk about here, it's not just people with the title or with direct reports. We have 24 people going through this, and not everybody has direct reports, but we still see them as a leader because we know that this culture that we're pushing for, which is, so InitiativeOne came in, backing up a little bit, InitiativeOne came in, they did the organizational discovery. And what that is they come and interview about 20 people from your company. And they go through and they anonymously tell us trends, things they've found. And the nice thing is they said, well, you're not broken, so that's good. We didn't think we were going into it. We just want a fresh perspective. And we were thinking, hey, we've been growing, we've been scaling, but where are our blind spots? We know we're having growing pains. We know that we started with a couple people and now we're over 75 people. And with that quick growth comes a little bit of that growing pain. So we wanted to figure out where are we falling short a little bit, or where could we improve really? And it's the response we got was, you're not really falling short anywhere, but hey, if you want to keep driving for this growth for your whole team, company-wide, here are a couple of things. And for us, it's more positive conflict, more accountability, and more collaboration, and a clearer vision for the company. So from the beginning, there was a clear vision, but as we got bigger and grew more, we've surpassed that vision and then some. And now it's thinking, well, what about the next 25 years? What does that look like? And trying to get excitement with our team for that next 25 years. So The organizational discovery really showed us there's nothing broken. The people that work here love working here. The people who work here love working with each other. So that was a huge relief. I mean, we felt it, but to get a third party come in and tell us that felt really good as well. And then here are some opportunities for you. So the great part about it is our leadership team and our owners were very passionate and excited about, well, yeah, we're doing great, but what is this level up here? So they bought into it, and we started talking with Dr. Fred about what does this next step look like for us? How many people do we put through it? What is this leadership process, leadership transformation? I went through it once myself with a mixed group, and I got a lot out of it personally and then brought that to the team. But this, now I'm way more excited for, because I get to go with the people that I work with, I see every single day. The conversations, the problems we'll be working through, I know them. I get to go back to the office and know what we were talking about in there is what we'll be working on at the company. So that's something I'm really excited about. We have plenty of people who've never done something like this before, so there's a lot of anxiousness, some excitement as well, but a lot of, what is this going to be like? So there's been a lot of talks about that and coaching people up, and a lot of trust we've had in InitiativeOne, and deserved trust. Our team's gone through a summit just recently. So you saw Jordan up there, got a nice shot there. And our team really enjoyed that as well. So they started to build more and more trust with our team. We've been coming to these think tanks for over 6 months now, and our team's getting excited about it. And I think the nervousness for it is just the unknown, not of, hey, this might not work or we might not like this. I think we have plenty of trust with InitiativeOne that this is going to be a fantastic process. Like I said, I've been through it. I know it's great. So I'm excited to see what our team gets out of it.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
And I hope that your wife enjoys this.
Oh, Stormy Cromer?
Yes,
too?
that's right. One of our other partners.
Wonderful.
See you, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. All right, you ready to roll? Yes. Let me rephrase the question. Let me answer it a different way. Are you ready to roll? Yes. So our last think tank, we talked about the power of decision making. One of the piece of feedback that we got back from our presentations is someone, after they listened to me talk on decision making, they said, well, that's great, but when are you going to talk about leadership? You all, decision making is the pivotal characteristic of leadership. Would you agree with that? And everything rises and falls, as my friend John Maxwell has said many times. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls in your life, both personally and professionally, on the decisions that you make as leaders. So last month, I had a long list of things that I was going to talk about, and common as it usually is, I only got half the content. And people said, would you finish up? So last month, we talked about some core principles that are guiding principles when you are making bold decisions in your life. As we pour into part 2 today, I want to remind you of something. For every action, Newton's law says there is an opposite and equal reaction. If you want to live a life of bold impact, expect bold resistance. If you're not getting resistance, it's because you're not doing something big enough to get resistance to. Make sense? And you better have the level of self-belief, not 2.7 thinking, but 8.0 thinking, that can rise up every time someone says, that's a decision, I think that's a bad decision, that's a mistake, you'll never do it. How many of us have ever had an experience like that after we made a decision? How many of us have? It comes with the territory. Now, but as we get into this, we're going to talk about 2 things today. One, what causes indecision? What causes us, even when we know what guiding principles are, what gets us paralyzed and we can't move forward in making a decision? And second, what are the 7 areas of mastery that you need to make a decision on if you're going to have an exceptional life? That's what we're going to talk about. You ready to roll? Now, I want to ask you a question. This is a very informed audience, both here and walking all around the country, listening all around the country. I want to ask you this question. And I want you to be real and just speak out loud or chat and just respond. Regina, where are you? As those chats come, just share it with us. What keeps you in your life? Think about a major decision that you know you need to make, but you have been hesitant to make it. What keeps you from making big, bold decisions in your life? And by the way, this is not weakness. It's called being human. What are those things? Talk to me. And I'm going to name the 4 most common psychological traits, but I want to see if you guys are like everybody else, which I have a feeling you are. What keeps you from making bold decisions as a leader, both personally and professionally? Talk to me. Fear. Fear of what? Fear of failure. What else? Uncertainty. By the way, 3/4 of the audience all spoke the word fear at the same time and the word failure at the same time. Isn't that crazy? All different kinds of folks, different personalities, different leadership styles, different experiences, and yet 2/3 of you said the same thing, just like what we practiced to have spontaneity before everybody came in. Who else? What keeps you from making a bold decision? Say that again. Oh, what's that mean? What's it mean? Does it mean that if you make a decision, everybody's going to agree with it? And if you are a people pleaser, by the way, I am a flaming codependent. For those of you who don't know that, that means you have to please people so that you can be pleased with yourself. And conflict looks like an evil thing when you're a codependent. And so when you're going to make bold decisions, you're going to get conflict every single time. Who else? Who else? What keeps you from bold decisions? Regina, what are you hearing on chats?
Fear of failure, making wrong decisions and wasting time, fear of not being successful, fear of making decisions that affect others, and judgment. Wow.
Can you identify with that? So let me give you, if you're taking notes, let me give you the 4, these are not the only 4, but let me give you the most common psychological barriers to making bold, powerful decisions in our lives. The first is, surprise, surprise, fear of failure. It is, by the way, I want to say this, the opposite of fear is not courage. The opposite of fear is action. When you are afraid to make a decision, make the decision and then do something about it. What happens is momentum creates the courage along the way. And so you've got to get the train started. You don't make the decision when you find courage. You find courage after you make the decision. And so there are 3 things that I want to teach you that are core principles. I learned this from Ed Milet, who is a coach, a fellow coach of athletes, political leaders, industry leaders. And he says 3 things whenever you want to make a decision and you're paralyzed by indecision. He said the first thing is this: make a decision. Make the decision. Make the decision and don't look back. The second thing is, once you make the decision, bathe that decision with certainty. What's that mean? Well, let me give you an example of what that means. When we decided to move our company from Scottsdale, Arizona, to get in the middle of the country so we could serve, we left our entire 9 years of customers and partners, hospital systems, major manufacturers, that to move to a place that had no idea who we were. Do you think that was a really risky decision? Some would say, no, that was a stupid decision. Actually, it was in my heart of hearts, I knew it was the right decision. But don't think in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning, when I would hear all kinds of people saying, who are you? Are you one of those corporate shrinks that comes in and rips everybody apart after one meeting and you leave and you don't put anybody back together again? Have you ever seen that before? That's who people thought we were. And it took a while for people. We started a think tank with 16 people, and I invited 8 were family, 8 were people that were employed that they had to be here. Don't think in that time that I wasn't questioning, but every time I questioned, I went back to bathing myself in certainty. I know it's the right thing to do. I know what I know, what I know. And when we did the second thing of investing $4 million into this facility, I can't tell you the number of people who said to me, we don't do that in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We don't do that. And I said, that's why we're doing it. And I had to remind myself, we're going to figure this thing out. You make the decision, and you bathe it in certainty. And certainty is your positive, constructive self-talk where you trust your history. You trust your abilities. You let go of self-doubt. Self-doubt will cause you to be hesitant in the midst of the moment when you need to be deliberate. Can you do that with yourself? Figure it out. I can do that. I'm working with a company right now that in Denver, Colorado, that they are at the cutting edge of cancer research. And they are figuring out the algorithms that they can determine. They're developing the methodologies that they can determine 10 years from now what is the kind of cancer that you're probably going to have. And let's go ahead and create a treatment right now before you ever get there. State-of-the-art stuff. They've been in existence for 5 years. For the first 4 years, they never met quarterly projections. One of their board directors is the owner of the Washington Commanders. I mean, these are people that have high expectations. And after year 4, they finally said to their founder, I'm sorry, but this is too important work to fail. And we're going to have to make a change here. And they brought in another person, and he inherited the culture that if we say it's a goal, it's not a goal, it's an idea. And don't hold us accountable because we're nice people here. And he had to change that culture. In 1 year, last quarter, for the first time in 5 years, they met their quarterly projections. And I was meeting with them on Wednesday, and I said, what was the difference? And he said one thing. It was belief. Belief can overcome the most powerful fear. Belief can cause 15 different people with different experiences to come together. If you don't believe, how in the world are you going to get your people to believe? You with me? So the power of belief is huge in making decisions. So the first principle in getting out of indecision is what? Talk to me. Make a decision. Make a decision. I'm working right now with an NFL team, and they recently had to make a major change at the very top of their organization. And it was obvious what needed to happen. But the decision maker, who has an MBA from Northwestern, he is very smart, immensely talented, wouldn't make the decision because he wanted more information. That's the second thing. He wanted to have certainty before he ever made a decision. I need one more piece of information. I need to talk to one more person. I need to read one more white paper. I need to make sure that everything is certain before I make a decision. What's the problem with having certainty before you make a decision? What's the problem? You'll never get it. You'll never get certainty. The things that create certainty are belief and action. And I would say to him, make a decision. It's obvious you've got this, and this, and all the data says do it. Do it. He called me yesterday, he texted me yesterday, and he said, that decision, were you pushing me to just do it when I was scared to death to do it? And I had, in a town of 5 million people, half the town calling for my hide, saying I needed to be fired. He said, you kept pushing me to do it, and it's transformed the organization. If you're about to make a bold decision for your organization or for your life or your family, do it. And then bathe it in certainty. And then the last part is follow up with insane action. Ed Milet's, his favorite phrase, follow up with insane action. Make the decision. Bathe it in certainty with your own self-talk and your own self-belief, and then be bold about it. And if you have trouble being bold, surround yourself in your life with people who are bold. And ask them to hold you accountable when you're acting like a weenie. You with me? That's one of my favorite statements. Quit being a weenie. Now, how many of us are struggling right now with making a tough decision in our lives? Would you raise your hand and do the Dr. Fred pledge? Ready? Raise your hand and say it with great enthusiasm. Dr. Fred, I hereby promise that I no longer will be a big weenie. Okay. We use deep psychological terms around here. I'll never forget, I was doing a keynote at Caesar's Palace, and the guy who did, what was the movie about the Notre Dame football guy that, Rudy, he was the other keynote. And he was using all these fancy terms, and I'm a graduate of Arizona State, and he was talking about fear-based decision-making and all of these terms, and I got up and I said, let me tell you what Rudy just said in 45 minutes of Notre Dame talk. In hillbilly talk, it is don't be a weenie. So, gang, and by the way, I shared with a lady this past week that same term, she had to have a tough conversation with someone. Does that require a decision? She had to have a tough conversation, and she kept putting it off, and she kept putting it off, and she kept putting it off. And I used that magical phrase, don't be a weenie. And she sent me a text the next day and said, I did it. I did it. And Dr. Fred, and she sent me this picture of this Oscar Mayer wiener. And she said, it's a magnet, and I put it right on my computer, and I use that every day to guide my decision making. Isn't it crazy? It's not rocket science. The first is what? Make the decision. The second is bathe it with what? I can do this. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. Pixar Films came up with the movie Toy Story. Ed Lassiter, who was the director, said, we made a commitment of over $100 million to the investors that we would deliver a whole new animation. And we would do it within 2 years. The problem was there was no technology in existence that required what Pixar wanted for that film. And we would make a goal and then have no idea how we were going to get it done. But we figured it out. We were going to do it. We made a commitment. We'll figure it out. And he said we figured it out along the way to the point that 2 years later, they had introduced more technology that changed the whole direction of animation today. You may be in the middle of your financial year right now, and you're short on your projections, and you don't know how to do it. Most companies would let go of the rubber band. Oh, well, let's change our budget. Oh, well, let's shrink. Let's start thinking we overthought ourselves. The great companies will hold on to the rubber band and say, let's figure it out. Let's don't let off on the pressure. We'll figure this thing out. That's taking insane action. Make some actions. Burn the boats out in the water so that you can't go back. Burn the boats. Take insane action. Force yourself to succeed. This is not fear-based living, is it, you all? Are you guys with me? Am I putting you to sleep? Okay, so first is the fear of failure. The second is the choice not to believe in oneself. Self-doubt and doubt in your process, doubt in your systems, doubt in your philosophy. We've been talking about that. A choice to believe in yourself and what you bring to the table. A third thing that keeps us from making decisions is perfectionism. It's not going to be good enough. It's not going to be good enough. It may not make everybody happy. Listen, as a former pastor of a church that had 3,000 members in Detroit, every single time I would make a decision, I would make 2,500 people happy, 500, this is religious language, 500 people pissed off. And if you're a codependent, that is a problem. And yet, and so I had to make a decision. And the mark of a good decision is the less conflict that you had, the better decision. No. Some of the biggest, greatest decisions that you'll ever make were rubbing a lot of people wrong. But it was based on your purpose, it was based on your values, it was based on data, it was based on your strategies. It wasn't a whim, it was based on a whole methodology of how we make a decision. And then lastly, the need for certainty. We've talked about that. Gosh, I've got to make sure that it's going to work out. Gang, at least 20% of the time, at least, in the most well-thought decisions, you're going to blow it. You're going to blow it. And that's okay, because we'll figure it out. We'll start over. We'll make an adjustment. And we'll use that time to learn and to grow. The first time we built the first phase of this building, I lost a lot of sleep. The second phase, I didn't lose nearly as much sleep because we had figured out how to make it. And Tracy and I had a lot of sleepless nights that first phase. The second phase, we didn't. Even though my board was saying, oh, you've already had your biggest hit that the community has seen. If you do this, no one's going to know about it. I said, we're not doing this so everybody else will know about it. We're doing this because we want to enlarge our impact. You guys aren't on the same page with us. We're doing it anyway. Make a decision, go against your board and see how that works out. And so, you all get out of decision making. Make the daggone decision. Bathe it with certainty. And third, make an insane action. Do something worth creating, stirring up stuff. Now, as we lead to the second part, there's 7 areas of mastery in your life that you have to make a decision on. If you're going to have an exceptional company, if you're going to have an exceptional family, if you're going to have an exceptional life, if you don't want to do the common, if you don't want to do the easy, if you don't want to do the ordinary, but you want to be about something that's going to last beyond your days, are you interested in that? You know, a friend of mine who passed last year, his name was Tony Campolo, and he used to say, at your funeral, is it just going to be another event where they all have a quick few words and they come together and they spend more time talking about the potato salad that's served at the dinner afterwards than the impact of your life? Are you going to have a potato salad funeral, or are you going to have a funeral where people talk about the legacy that you're leaving behind because of the investment that you have made in the lives of other people? Every one of you in this place, you're different. The people who want to be average and common and ordinary, they never attend stuff like this. They've already arrived. Life is good enough for them. These are people here that are watching and listening today. You want to find another edge, another edge, another edge. Not because it's not good enough. You want to be a steward of the gifts that you've been given. You see the difference? That's not perfectionism. That's called commitment to excellence. That's what we're about. You agree with that? 7 areas of mastery. And I'm going to ask you some questions. You ready to roll? The first is this. What decision are you going to make in your life regarding your health? You can be the richest man in the world, but if you're in the cemetery, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, for most of my adult life, health was something that was important, but it wasn't important. I was always about 23 pounds overweight. All the time. My cholesterol, my mother had 500 cholesterol. 500 cholesterol. And I inherited that from her. And if I wasn't on a statin, I guarantee you, I made a bike trip from Indiana to Tennessee in 4 days and trained all summer, and my cholesterol was still 400. Oh, it's okay. When it's your time, you'll go. You know, all of that rational thinking. Have you ever done that before? You know what changed that? What changed that when my brother died? I'm the last of 4 siblings. None of them reached retirement. One died at 19, one died at 49 of a brain tumor, and Mike died at 64. The last 20 years, he always talked about retirement. He was an amazing man. He was one of the most dedicated police officers I have ever met. He was a police chief. He formed the American Canine Association. He trained dogs for the CIA, for the Secret Service, for governments in Saudi Arabia, Mexico. When Mike would throw a training exercise, 1,000 handlers and their dogs would show up. If he wanted to do an exercise in drug intervention, the Navy would give him boats in order to get his job done. If he needed to do a search and rescue, the Army would provide Black Hawk helicopters to him. I mean, he was a walking legend in his field. He lived, ate, and breathed his purpose. And then he died 25 years early. And I watched him by his bedside, which was a privilege to be there. fighting every breath when his oxygen level was 50% in his blood. Because when he was tearing ships apart in the Navy, he contacted asbestos poisoning. And when you've got asbestos poisoning and you don't know it, and you're not taking care of your risk factors, he smoked a pack a day for 30 years. 5 Big Macs was not a problem. And Mike died 20 years too early. I mourn him every single day. And I get angry at him because he was selfish. He was selfish. He wasn't thinking about those of us who are going to be left behind, who poured our life into him. And when he passed away, I was sick for what, Tracy? Close to a year. And I said, I've got to make a change. And you know what caused me to make the change? It wasn't another medical lecture. It was not working with another medical group who said, Fred, your work is too important. You got to be around. What changed it is when he died and I saw the impact and I said, wait a second. I want to be here as long as I can for Tracy and my kids and my family and their families and my best friends. I want to live and hit that tape till 90 years old, and I don't want to be one of these guys at 90. I want to hit the tape strong because I matter, and I matter to people, and people matter to me. You have a moral, ethical, spiritual responsibility to take care of your health. It is a decision, isn't it? Mike said to me, his last words were, I love you, and how did you become the lucky one? That's what he said to me. How did you become the lucky one? It wasn't luck. It's got to be a decision. It's got to be a decision. One of the most important leadership discussions that you can have with yourself is, what am I going to do to take care of my temple? You guys with me? The second is this. What are you going to do with emotions? Emotions, that's where all the pain comes from. That's the juice. Emotion, here's the decision. Are you going to live a life of reacting to every stimuli that happens around you? Every word that is said to you, every action that happens, everything that happens in politics, everything that happens in the stock market, everything that happens in the economy, everything that happens in the school board, and you find yourself having an instant emotional response, and you go to judgment, and I can't believe these people. How many of us fight that? How many of us fight that? We all fight that. I love what Warren Buffett, a statement that has been attributed to him, he says, and I want to read this because it's too important. You will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you, to everything that happens around you every day. Would you tell her hello for me? Whether it is everything that is said to you, the actions of others, whether in politics or in our social circles, the changes in the economy. Listen to this. True power is sitting back and observing when things happen with logic and curiosity. Look at it from a distance. I'm 66 years old. I suffer from chronic depression. It's 5th generation. I've been on depression meds for 40 years. If I miss my depression, my kids call it Dracula medicine. If I miss 3 days of medicine, I'm a different dude. Tracy, you don't need to comment on that. And I don't know where I was going with that. I think I've got Alzheimer's coming on, but oh well. And so what I've learned is that it's sitting back instead of reacting to everything with rage and judgment. Instead, be curious. Oh, I know what my psychiatrist said. I got it. I came back to it. She said, Fred, here's when we got these 2 pugs. Don't tell my kids, but I hate those 2 dogs. I love them except when I don't love them. When they wander onto my neighbor's territory and I get the phone call. When they do things in the laundry room and I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I have to say, Tracy, go clean it up. I hate those dogs. And I want to tell you, I've had more daggone rage about those 2 dogs. They have the power in my life. And she said to me, Fred, here's the next time that happens, here's what I want you to do. Take your phone, step back, and take a picture of it. What? Take a picture of dog do? She said, no, you don't get it. You've got it as a discipline to step back and be objective. Look at it as an event that is happening, not to you, but it just is happening at a distance. Become a bystander. Remove yourself. Detach yourself. Look at it with curiosity. And then wait. Success is is that period of time between the stimuli and the response. When you want to send that text and you feel self-righteous to send that text and you know you're right, don't send it. Wait until you quiet. Wait until you calm down. When you want to send that email that feels so right, just do yourself a favor and sleep on it. Slow yourself down. Are you going to make a decision to live in reaction? And because if you live in constant upsetness because of you giving your power to everything and others, you will never know fulfillment in your life. And you know who I'm talking to right now? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to a person who is a high D, that when I'm in my little guy, I'm so proud of it, a dictatorial steamroller. These are things that I struggle with every day. And the moment, I said to my therapist, when am I going to quit struggling? She said, never. When you quit struggling, that's when you're in trouble, because that means it's won. As long as you're doing the struggling, you're going to be okay because you're front aware. What decision are you making about emotion in your life? By the way, I'm not going to do all 7. I'm going to do one more. Maybe there will be a part 3. Who knows? What are you going to do with relationships? You cannot lead. You can't lead yourself if you don't have a relationship with yourself. A healthy love relationship with yourself. You can't lead your family if you don't love them. You cannot be a leader if you do not love people. It was great Charlie Brown, the great philosopher, who once said, I love humanity. It's just the people that I can't stand. How many of us, I had a person we're coaching 2 weeks ago who said, I hate people. I hate people with great pride. I said, how does it feel to be by yourself? People will figure it out if you have a picture of people that people are untrustworthy. People will figure it out by your life if you look at people with disdain, that people are going to screw you over. And by the way, some people will. And when that happens, are you going to do this and say, I'm never going to get burned again? Never. And you can do that, and you won't get burned again, but what's the price you're going to pay? You will find isolation as your best friend. There is no joy in isolation. There is no joy in shallow relationships. Last thing I'm going to say is, what are you going to do with the people that are in your box? The people that are in your box are those 6 to 7 people in your life that no matter what, if you're around 30 years from now, you know that they will come hell or high water. They will do whatever it takes to be at your funeral. They won't be the folks that come to the reception the night before and put their time in and then say, sorry, but I have work to... They will absolutely do everything possible to honor you because of the investment that you've made in each other's lives. If you have 6 to 7 people in your life like that, you better be pouring into them because they are gold. Are you going to live in the moment or are you going to live by destination disease? That's a decision. I was watching the printer this morning print out and I had this silly little thing. It was an HP that probably cost $125. And I called back to 1986 when I was only 6 at that time. And I was leading a congregation in West Virginia. And we bought the first printer that we ever purchased. And it was, in today's dollars, it was $4,000. It printed 4 pages lightning fast a minute. And I told myself, when I get that printer, I'm going to be happy. And it took 3 weeks, and every day I can't wait to get that printer. I can't wait to get to that printer. My life is going to be changed. It's going to be awesome. After 3 stinking sheets, it was just a printer. Do you ever do that? When I get that car, when I get that promotion, when we get to that size, when my kids are out of the house, when I get there, I'll be happy. If you're not contented now, you won't be contented there. Am I going to live in the moment and cherish the relationships? Tracy and I, every day, we say this to each other. We said it this morning. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. That is our code to each other, is live for gratitude. Be present in the moment. Cherish the folks that are around you. And Tracy, her favorite statement is, I get to go to work today. That's a choice. That's a decision. Am I going to be a giver or am I going to be a getter? That's a decision. Am I going to be a drain on people or am I going to be a fountain for people? That's a decision. Be bold. Make a decision. Take action. Bathe it in uncertainty. And then take insane action. Will you do something for me? I'm going to give you I won't give him my text numbers. I'm going to give you my email. fjohnson@initiativeone, it's one word.com. Would you please, as an act of accountability, email me and say, this is my insane action that I have made a decision and I am acting on. If you say it out loud, you're serious about it. If you say it out loud, it raises accountability. You're not serious about accountability unless you ask other people to help you with it. You with me? Has this been helpful? Yes. Be bold, you guys. Don't be ordinary. Thank you.